Today in Denmark, Arab prince's secret presence near Princess Leonor. A fictional royal dramatization. The Hook. Copenhagen. Calm. Predictable. Royal routines unfolding as always. Until something shifts. A presence. Unexpected. Quiet. Unannounced. An Arab prince, seen near Princess Leonor. But what if this wasn't coincidence at all? What if this moment hides a story no one was meant to witness? And what if everything we thought we understood about Leonor's path suddenly bends in a new direction? The body. It begins in the early morning, long before the official press cameras awaken. The cold Danish air hangs still over Amalienborg Palace as Princess Leonor arrives for a discreet private engagement. She believes her day will be simple, structured, and perfectly controlled. A routine diplomatic courtesy. Nothing more. Yet something feels different even before she steps out of the car. A pair of unfamiliar security officers positioned near the entrance. A subtle shift in protocol. A tension in the air that is invisible to most, but not to her. Inside, the palace corridors hum with quiet movement. Advisors whisper instructions. Staff move quickly, but with a deliberate calm, as if preparing the space for someone far more important than they are allowed to admit. Leonor senses this immediately. Her instinct, shaped by years of royal discipline, tells her that something significant is unfolding. But no one explains anything. Not yet. And then she sees him. Tall, composed, moving like a man who has spent his entire life surrounded by authority. Dressed in refined, understated elegance. A young Arab prince whose presence in Denmark has not been announced to any media outlet, not even in the tiniest diplomatic bulletin. His name withheld. His purpose hidden. And yet he stands only a few dozen meters from Princess Leonor, his expression unreadable, his appearance impossibly precise. Leonor stops. Just long enough for one breath to catch. Who is he? Why is he here? And why were his movements kept secret even from her? The Danish officials offer no explanation, guiding her forward with polite smiles that reveal nothing. But the curiosity begins. First a spark, then a slow, consuming question that will follow her through the entire day. For now, however, the two royals only exchange a brief glance. Subtle, quiet, almost invisible to anyone who isn't watching closely. But in that moment, something unspoken forms. Not romance, not destiny, just awareness. Awareness of a connection neither of them expected. As the hours unfold, the day takes Leonor through meetings on youth leadership, international cooperation, and new cultural programs meant to bridge Spain and Denmark. Yet even as she speaks, even as cameras flash, she notices the shadow of the Arab prince in the periphery. Never close, never intrusive, but present, always present. Why? Every answer creates a new question. Every solved moment unravels another thread. By midday, whispers circulate quietly through palace staff. The prince's presence was approved at the highest political level. Some say he arrived with a confidential proposal. Others believe his visit concerns a sensitive issue between his royal house and the Danish monarchy. And some claim that the prince specifically requested to observe Leonor's engagements, though the reason remains completely concealed. Leonor, trained to hide emotion, continues her schedule with perfect composure. Yet inside, she feels the weight of an unseen narrative forming around her. She has spent years preparing for duty, for scrutiny, for the expectations of a future queen. But she has never prepared for this, a foreign royal whose intentions are unreadable, positioned this close to her unannounced. Later, during a private luncheon, at a secluded palace wing, Leonor finally receives her first glimpse of truth. A soft conversation between two senior advisors reaches her. Not meant for her ears, but overheard nonetheless. The prince is here on an evaluation visit. A discussion of joint educational initiatives. A proposal involving international youth diplomacy. But more importantly, he insisted on remaining anonymous to the public for reasons that have not yet been revealed. Another curiosity loop opens. Why the secrecy? Why avoid the press? Why choose this exact day, when Leonor happens to be alone in Denmark without her parents or her sister Sophia? The mystery deepens. When the luncheon concludes, Leonor steps outside into a private courtyard for a moment of fresh air. It is here, away from the noise, that the prince finally speaks to her directly. Not formally, not ceremonially, simply human to human. He greets her respectfully, his voice calm but edged with intensity. He thanks her for her work, her dedication, her quiet resilience. Words that feel surprisingly sincere. And then he admits something unexpected: he has followed her initiatives for years. Not personally, not romantically, but professionally. He believes the next generation of leaders must understand one another before they ever ascend their thrones. Leonor listens. Her curiosity grows. He reveals nothing about the deeper purpose of his visit. Not yet, but he speaks with a sense of urgency that leaves her wondering what responsibilities he carries behind that tied-off silence. Responsibilities that perhaps mirror her own. As the afternoon progresses, the world outside remains unaware. The Danish press continues covering unrelated domestic matters. Spanish media speculates lazily about Leonor's public schedule. No one realizes that an entirely different story is unfolding behind palace walls. A meeting of two future leaders, two heirs, two individuals shaped by pressure and tradition more than personal freedom. Every glance between them becomes another loop. Every silence becomes a question. Every answer births another layer. Near sunset, the prince makes a discreet visit to a royal archive room, reviewing historical agreements between Denmark, Spain, and his own nation. Leonor passes by the doorway just long enough to see him studying documents with a level of concentration that strikes her. He isn't a ceremonial figure. He isn't a symbolic guest. He is a strategist, a thinker, someone who came to Denmark with purpose, and that purpose somehow intersects with her. It is only later, during their second private conversation, that another revelation comes to light. The prince has been working on a cross-border youth leadership cohort, a confidential initiative meant to unite future rulers of Europe and the Middle East long before they inherit their crowns. Leonor is one of the few he believes could anchor such a program. She feels the weight of this. The honor, the responsibility, the unexpected burden, and as they speak, the air shifts between them. Not romantic, not intimate, but human. Two people raised under unimaginable expectations, finally sharing a moment of honesty. Still, he withholds something. She senses it. Something deeper. Something that explains the secrecy surrounding his presence. Something that his advisors refuse to disclose. A final loop. The largest. Near the end of the evening, as the prince prepares to leave through a hidden exit, he pauses beside Leonor. He thanks her again, his voice lower now, almost edged with regret. And then he says a single sentence that plants an unshakable question in her mind. Sometimes the world watches us before we ever realize we're being seen. Leonor freezes. She wants to ask more. But he is already stepping into the armored vehicle waiting in the shadows. Within seconds, he disappears into the Danish night, escorted by security units she did not recognize. The palace returns to silence. Her day resumes its usual rhythm. But everything has changed. The story ends without resolution. Without confirmation. Without the answers she hoped to receive. What did he truly want? What mission brought him so close to her? And why did he look at her, in that final moment, with a gaze that carried both warning and understanding? For now, the world knows nothing. The press remains unaware. But Leonor knows this will not be the last time their paths cross. Too much was left unspoken. Too much remains unfinished. Too many doors were opened that cannot be closed again. And as she stands in the quiet of the palace hallway, she realizes something powerful. This day in Denmark will mark the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one shaped not by public appearances or ceremonial duties, but by hidden alliances, secret conversations, and encounters that the world may never fully understand. But this moment, this secret presence, this unexpected prince, it will follow her. And whether she is ready or not, the future just changed.